Hello everybody, I'm back and today I'm going to be cutting up a melon while giving you guys some advice on the different parts of a cut, alright? They're going to be different phases. In particular, you're going to find phases where you're going to be doing more of a deficit. I'm talking more like a 900 calorie deficit, but then other phases where you're just going to be doing a deficit of maybe 300 or 400 calories, alright? So first things first, how do you know which deficit is when? So I'm going to give you my own personal example, alright? So around the beginning of the year, 26 January, I began my cut, okay? I did an 8-week cut in which I lost 12 pounds, okay? How did I do well in this? And what type of cut did I do? I did an aggressive cut because I had a relatively high body fat percentage. I'd say around 17 to 18%. And so I wanted to lose that fat. And I was eating a relatively high amount of calories beforehand because I was just getting off of a bulk. And so what I did was go on a rather aggressive cut, because especially if you're coming right off a bulk, you're not just dropping from maintenance to a cut, you're dropping from a bulk to a cut. So you can really afford to go down in calories, because even though you might feel the shock more, your body's been in a bulking state for a while, so it's going to be so much more likely to easily switch into that cutting stage. Almost like a sigh of relief, like thank God you're losing some weight, man. I was getting a bit concerned. So when I say aggressive, now not everyone has to do an aggressive cut, but I find that you could either lose the same amount of fat in 4 months or lose it in 2 months, okay? If you're at a relatively high body fat percentage, by the way, 17 or 18% is not that bad, but if you're comparing it to like 13 or 14% or even like 9 or 10%, like that's really low, okay? But even if you're at like 17 or 18%, you can afford a relatively aggressive cut. So what you're going to want to be doing is just go as low as you can without having problems with your sleep, workout performance. Now keep in mind, you will lose a bit of energy when you're going for your workouts because your body's using more of its fat reserves now. And so that essentially means that you're gonna be feeling not your best, but like if it feels almost impossible to even go to the gym, that's when you know you get your calories up. When you're spending the entire day starving, even when you've implemented a good eating schedule. Speaking of which, I've made many videos on this. Check some of them out. You want to have a diet that works for you, not against you. And so even if you've got all of that stuff down, but you're still hungry all the time, you're having problems with your sleep, you want to change some stuff up, man, all right? And so this cut that's rather aggressive, you want to continue for maybe a maximum of 8 to 10 weeks, all right? I don't recommend going longer than that. You ask any of the professional bodybuilders, they won't say the same thing either, okay? And so once you're done with that, what do? That's the big question. Because if you still want to lose weight, don't worry, you can still lose weight. But you've been cutting for 8 weeks, my friend. You need a 2-week maintenance at least, just to get your metabolism back to normal. Once you've got this metabolism back to normal, which is exactly what I did, I'm back on the cut. But now, if you've been disciplined and you actually lost weight on this cut, you're more likely going to be at a lower body fat percentage. And just 2 weeks ago, given that you've just done this maintenance, you had just gotten off your cut and you've lost a decent amount of fat. your body's not going to be so happy with just losing more and more fat. The hunger signals are going to go up even higher. And so, this is going to be extremely difficult, by the way, because I got used to that aggressive cutting, that now that I'm here at about 13 or 14% body fat, I was going to continue this aggressive cutting, but I realized that was not the right way to go about it, because almost instantly the hunger hit me, but like 5 times harder than previously, okay? Here, you're going to have to do it a bit slower. And that's where my statement from earlier saying you're either going to be doing a somewhat aggressive cut, like a 900 deficit, or something a bit more chilled out, like a 400 or 300 calorie deficit, okay? This is because now your body is at a lower body fat percentage. It does not want to be losing this fat, all right? It ideally wants to hold on to it. But if you're ambitious, you want to look your best, 10 to 12% body fat is around the best range. You don't need to go 6% like these bodybuilders, but 10 to 12% is elite for most people out there, all right? For most men out there, 10 to 12% is elite. And it's what we all should strive for, because at this body fat percentage range, we can still have decent hormones. We can still look amazing. In fact, you probably look your most attractive when you're between 10 to 12% body fat. But no, below that, your veins are all there. And if you're a bodybuilder, fair enough. But for most people, this is just not going to be ideal. All right? So 10 to 12% body fat, to get there, it's going to be a bit more difficult. Especially going from 14% to 10% body fat, it's probably going to take you twice as much time as it took you to go from 18% body fat to 14% body fat, all right? Here, 400 calories as a deficit is recommended. As you lose weight, you need to adjust accordingly. Make sure you're not feeling hungry just because you have a diet that's now working with you, as I mentioned earlier. But you might notice some days when you're exercising even more, you're going to want to eat even more food. You might actually have to, and it may be a good idea. Essentially, when you do refeed days, you let your body know that, okay, we're not starving anymore. We can allow this fat loss to continue. But if you're constantly in a starving state, your body's not going to want to lose that fat, all right? So it's extremely important you don't overextend yourself on the cut, especially at these lower body fat percentage levels, okay? And so I believe that essentially covers it. And I did not get to cut my melon because I really wanted to speak with proper presence this time, but I think it was a captivating intro, I guess. I am looking forward to this, and I think this is one of the best examples of how you make your diet work for you, not against you, okay? An entire melon has 180 calories. This entire thing has 180 calories. And of it, it's got around 2.2 kgs of the meat. Meat being the actual edible part. Are you going to eat 2.2 kgs of watermelon in a single day? I highly doubt it. So in actuality, you're eating nothing. Even if you have 400 grams of watermelon, that's 40 calories. Come on, man. You can easily make this better for you, It's maybe not as filling as, let's say, other foods, but every step counts, okay? When you're eating such dense foods, calorie-dense foods, you're inevitably going to just make cutting a lot harder than if you were to with high volume, low calorie foods, even if they are not as thick or, essentially thick, okay? And so that's all I have to say today. make sure that you're in the right phase, okay? Don't do aggressive cutting when you're in the lower body fat percentage range, because your body is really gonna get mad, alright? And likewise, when you're in a higher body fat percentage, try going closer to the aggressive zone if you can. Because believe me, when you're cutting only 2 months instead of 4 months, you'll be a much happier person. When you're losing weight over 4 months, it's kind of like you get a bit miserable. But over like 8 weeks or like 2 months, it's so much more manageable, okay? So that's how you should know which phase you're in right now. And if you want any specific tips for as to how you can have a diet that's working for you, not against you, check out my videos. And as always, if you're interested in looking your best, feeling your best, performing your best, make sure to like and subscribe, because I'm someone who also wants to live a very productive life, look amazing as always, and also feel amazing, you know? I used to be a massive shopaholic, if that's what you want to call it. And I realized the real reason for that was just because I wasn't really healthy, and I got most of my dopamine through shopping. Like, look at my fragrance collection over there. Like, it's a bit ridiculous, okay? I'm gonna make a video on that one day. But essentially, when you eat well, when you're looking your best, feeling your best, performing your best, you get less desire to spend unnecessarily. You make better decisions, you get better sleep, and you realize what's really important in life. It's not the fancy watch, it's not the fancy car. It's about who's in the car with you, you know? It's about the people you're around, it's about the energy you have, the lifestyle you have. That's more important than the car itself or than all the fancy objects, you know? So that's all I'd like to say in today's video. I hope you gained some valuable advice. I know this all helped me a lot.